Will the Disaster Recovery, International Affairs, and Planning Committee come to order? The time is now 1:33 on March 18th, 2026. If everyone can please silence their cell phones or any noise-making devices, that will help our cause. Members, in accordance with the Sunshine Law, if you are not in the council chamber, please identify by name who, if anyone, is in the room, vehicle, or workspace with you today. Minors do not need to be identified. Also, please see the last page of the agenda for information on meeting connectivity. My name is Tamara Paulton, and I'll be your chair for today's DRIP committee meeting. With us, we have our committee vice chair, Nohelani Hodgins. Aloha Wina La, and half a day.
Aloha, Chair. Half a day, everyone.
Next up, we have the new guy, Kawanoi Batangan. Aloha Wina La, and half a day.
Aloha kako.
And we also have Member Cook, Aloha Awina La, and half a day.
Aloha, half a day.
Member Johnson has been excused. We have Council Chair Alice Lee, Aloha Awina La, and half a day.
Aloha Awina La, half a day.
And we also have from Molokai, Kiani Rollins Fernandez, Aloha Awina La, and half a day.
Aloha Awina La, Chair. Aloha Awina La Kako, me Molokai Nui Ahina. I'm at my private residence, alone here. In this room, I do have my daughter, who's a minor, who's on spring break, also in the house with me, and my husband's kind of going in and out, McKenna Fernandez. And we currently have no testifiers at the Molokai District Office. Mahalo, Chair.
Thank you. And we also have Councilmember Shane Sinensi, Aloha Awina La, and half a day.
Kia ora, Chair, half a day, here to support your new party affiliation.
Thank you. Kia ora. And last but not least, we have Councilmember Yukile Sugimura, who is driving on her way. This committee of the Disaster Recovery, International Affairs, and Planning Committee of the Maui County Council is located on the traditional aina of the Kanaka Iwi, who never ceded their sovereignty to the United States. We recognize that Her Majesty Queen Liliuokalani yielded the Hawaiian Kingdom to the U.S. in duress under threat of violence to avoid the bloodshed of her people. We further recognize that Hawaii remains an illegally occupied nation state by the U.S., as documented in a 2021 scholarly article for the National Lawyers Guild Review by Andrew Reed, adjunct professor of law at the University of Denver Sturm College of Law. Generations of Kanaka Maoli and their knowledge systems have sustainably cared for Hawaii and continue to do so. We are grateful to occupy this space and learn the ways in which we can contribute as a committee. We seek to support the varied strategies that the indigenous people of Hawaii are using to protect their land and their communities, and commit to dedicating time and resources to working in solidarity. From the Department of Planning, we have Acting Planning Director Jackie Takakura and Planning Program Manager for the Plan Implementation Division, Scott Forsyth. From the Department of Management and the Office of Recovery, we have Deputy Managing Director Aaron Wade and Office of Recovery Administrator John Smith. Mr. Smith, would you care to introduce your external team of resources in the gallery, or I'll leave that to you how you want to do it?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, today we have with us actually quite a few resources. Most of the stands up here are resources, but we have consultants from Tetra Tech, from BDO. We have one online from Stantec. We have Bowers and Kubota. All are available as a resource when we get into the Q&A portion of this. And so we can call on them at that time. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, without objection, I will designate all of these individuals as resource persons under Rules 18A of the Rules of the Council due to their knowledge and expertise in assisting the county with Lahaina and Maui's long-term recovery efforts.
No objections.
From Corporation Counsel today, we have 2 for 1. We have Deputy Corp Counsel Mike Hopper, as well as Deputy Corp Counsel Christina Toshikio. We also have DRIP committee staff with us this afternoon. Assistant Clerk Jean Pokipala, Legislative Attorney Megan Moniz, Supervising Senior Committee Secretary Yvette Boutillier, and Legislative Analyst Keone Hurdle and Jarrett Pasquale. We have 2 items on today's agenda. DRIP 9-10 2025 Annual General Plan Implementation Report, and DRIP 9-4 Maui's Long-Term Recovery Operations. Members, if there's no objection, I would like to take the items out of order because of the incoming storm and the additional duties that our two resources up here have in relation to that? Thank you, members. We will take testimony after opening remarks and presentation one at a time. So DRIP 94, Maui's long-term recovery operations. Under Rule 7B of the Rules of the Council, the committee intends to receive a presentation on Maui's long-term recovery operations. The committee may also discuss other related matters, but no legislative action will be taken. And this is scheduled, basically to give an update at the request of Administrator Smith and as we go into budget. Do you have your opening comments and presentations prepared?
We do. I'll just start real quick and then turn it over to Aaron to run through the agenda. But thank you, Chair. And as discussed, we thought it would be really good timing to come back in front of council since we met last time. We weren't anticipating this storm. So thank you for accommodating our schedules. But we'll talk a little bit about that. But I'll turn it over to Aaron Wade to get us started with this presentation, and then we'll jump straight through it. We'll go fairly quickly through the slides, and then we're happy to answer any question that you folks have. Thank you.
Great.
I'll use this if that works. Thank you. Aloha and good afternoon. I'm Deputy Managing Director Aaron Wade. Thanks for having us today to provide this check-in on our recovery efforts and to share with you where we're heading from here as well. I'm grateful to have all of the staff here and to be able to share all of their hard work with you today. And as we move forward, also coordinating and sharing with you what has happened on the current storm. So we're just going to do a quick check-in and let you know what's happening right now and how recovery is involved with that, as well as what's been happening for all of the things that we're working on in recovery. So with the next slide, a quick overview of our agenda. We're going to share ongoing efforts and coordination for the storm events, what the status is of the Office of Recovery itself in terms of the organization. We'll give you some updates on permitting, on our temporary to permanent housing plan, so you can better understand for folks who haven't achieved their permanent house yet, what we're supporting them in. The CDBG-DR updates regarding housing and infrastructure, and then our funding strategies and policy updates.
Thanks, Aaron. Next slide, please. So I don't have to tell anyone in this room what's happening outside. And again, we weren't expecting to have this storm. But I think in terms of, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, we weren't expecting to have the storm at the same time as the meeting. We saw the storm coming, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Aaron. But we thought we should do this meeting anyway because of how Office of Recovery is integrating into this. This is likely to be another federal disaster. This is likely to be a long-term event. And meeting with Chief Amos from MEMA and integrating recovery has been happening the past few days. So we'll talk a little bit about that and be happy to answer additional questions later because we are pretty up to speed with where things are in the storm itself. We're actively responding across all the islands. In terms of this Kona Low event, we've had flooding, debris, and wind events all over, and we have activated several different task forces with MEMA. So one of the task forces that Office of Recovery is helping lead is the debris task force because it's so significant this round. So we are out there integrated with MEMA, helping to direct traffic and coordinate efforts between the departments. So it's an extension of the Office of the Department of Management, and it's an extension of the recovery office in terms of gearing us up for when we get that federal declaration and being ready to pivot for reimbursements and that sort of thing. So just in general, that's where we are right now. I won't go too much more into depth on that because it wasn't really the part of this presentation, but just so you folks know, we are actively working with MEMA and supporting all the departments across the board. Next slide. So we have MEMA as the response lead. We have Office of Recovery as a supporting role right now during the response. We have all of the county departments and all their operations. So it's, as we didn't have Office of Recovery before, and I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you folks for supporting this vision of Office of Recovery because it is what's needed right now. I think a lot of communities around the country and all over the place are really looking at us right now in terms of, well, how do you do this better? How do you interact with FEMA better? How do you interact with HUD better? And we're well positioned for that right now. Next slide, please. Just a quick reminder of how we're situated within the county. Of course, we have the mayor's office and then Department of Management. We're an office within the Department of Management. I think that's one way to look at it. So we're part of that department, but we can run in and out of any department we need to have a more holistic view of things. And then within the recovery office itself, we have our CDBG DR team, which is the bigger piece of it. So if you're just on a CDBR team, DR team, just kind of wave. That's DR, okay? And then anything else recovery, you can wave your hand. Yeah, there we go. It's a little bit smaller. And that's really an indication of how the funds are working. So it's the 1.6 billion on one side, and then you have all the other things on the other side. But we're well positioned to work with each other. You can tell they're sitting together, not on separate sides of the room. So they're working with each other. Next slide, please. So in general, we support things like standing up a permit center. So we work with Public Works and DSA and others to help get that off and running. And right now, just to get a snapshot of where we are, we've processed 355 permits, issued 552, completed 159. So that's 159 houses that are done and people have moved back into. We've got the permit time down to 44 days, and it's trending lower than that. So that's all permits. If you just look at residential, it's actually under 30 days now. So if you were in a home that was destroyed and you want to rebuild your house, once you submit a completed set of permits, it's actually less than 30 days right now, which we're really happy to report that. This is just a visual snapshot of where all of those permits are. So we've got the completed ones are the blue, the ones that are issued that will be coming up. And if you go to Lahaina today, you can see this popping up all over. And then the ones that are in process are yellow.
Before we move on, I just wanted to point out, you see there's areas that don't show any color or permitting. Most of that is agriculturally zoned. So even though it's in the burn zone, it's not an area where we would expect to see permits. So most of the areas, particularly the residential areas where we're issuing residential permits, right now the permit rate is 60% actually of the single family residential housing is either under construction or permitted. So it's moving forward quite well, particularly in comparison to other similar disasters nationally.
We've been reminded over and over from other communities that a disaster of this type is a 5 to 10 year process, not just a 1 or 2 years. So based on the data that we have so far, we do feel like we're trending above what would be from a speed standpoint for a disaster of that type. I'm sorry.
Me.
That's you. Okay, I'm sorry you have a picture of me, but go ahead.
No, it's all good. So in order to keep things moving quickly, we are taking steps to try to reduce the barriers through the permitting process and for rebuilding. So you folks through the council have helped us quite a bit with that in several ways as well. So that's included allowing for SMA waivers for everything Mauka of Front Street, Mauka of Front Street. Allowing for right-of-way and parking requirements to be waived. So that's thanks to Councilmember Cook's bill for Front Street. The right-of-way improvements were waived, mostly because the determination from the community is they really love Front Street as it was, and so there wasn't a need for extensive widening on Front. For the parking requirements, that's just within the historic district. And as you folks know, there was never much parking in the historic district to begin with. Those buildings covered the majority of those properties from the get-go. You folks also helped us to provide for a code amendment to allow for balconies and overhangs to be replaced on those buildings to allow for the historic character to continue to carry forward when those buildings are rebuilt. We have developed some clear design pathways by creating design guidelines that are consistent with the historic district and an administrative review pathway for those permits to proceed. Next slide. Thank you. And then this map shows the different levels. Planning department has been a wonderful partner in working with us to better define what the requirements are for each of these properties to be able to rebuild. The gradation in that coloring, everything, the furthest Mauka in orange actually has no additional permitting beyond the building permit. As you move closer and closer to the shoreline, the permitting becomes more complex. There's additional layers of permitting, whether it's in the National Historic Landmark District, one of the historic zoning districts, or if it's on the shoreline or in the flood zone. So we did host a commercial permitting workshop in February, and Planning Department was instrumental in assisting us in communicating with property owners about what their process looks like. And I think gave folks a lot of clarity in terms of knowing we're encouraging people to understand the permitting process and to come in and try and rebuild. And thank you to Director Takakura, who has been awesome at messaging. We're here to help. And I hope that the community hears that. That is the objective. We're here to help folks get through the permitting process. So thanks for that. In terms of temporary to permanent, it's important to recognize that we still have over 800 families that haven't found their permanent household yet. And so with that being the understanding and knowing we don't have all of the housing in the pipeline going through permitting yet. We have a lot that you're about to hear about that's going to start moving forward through CDBG-DR, but we need a bridge to make sure those families stay home on Maui. And so the temporary to permanent plan allows us to fund the continuation. So FEMA has extended their temporary housing support for another year for us. So that's through February, but the county is going to need to step in and assist some of these families. We're not expecting it to stay at 800. As you saw, there's a number of households under construction now. So a lot of those are gonna find their permanent house between now and February when we need to take over completely. But at that point, and just as an expectation in the FY27 budget under office recovery, you're gonna start seeing some funds dedicated by the county, our requests to fund temporary to permanent housing.
Okay, let's shift gears into the CDBG-DR world, or our Ho'okumuho housing programs. And I'll run through all the programs. So there's like about 4 or 5 slides in a row here, but I'll go fast. If you haven't had a chance to participate in one of our first-time homebuyer sessions, we'll definitely get an invite out to you. But if you'd like, and this is for later, scan that on your phone, and you can watch the video for some of the latest videos of these programs. So the first-time homebuyer program has been extraordinarily popular, I would say, and it just really just shows the need that we, and I don't have to tell this group the need for housing. But we have 501 active applications still. We've awarded 41 shopping letters, so there's a bunch of folks out there that are shopping now. 6 homes have been purchased and have been moved into with this program. This is actually a county employee in this photo, which is a really nice story from Lahaina. I think works for Parks, but
That's correct.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, you would know. Yeah. And so we're really happy to we love this picture I wanted to show you, but this happens at every one of these ceremonies, and we have more coming. So just wanted to highlight that. So we'll jump into a few more programs. So that's the one that everybody kind of knows about that's off and running. There's the single family recon program. That means you lost your home, you're in the right income category and eligible for funds. 59 active. Several of those are ready to move forward to approval, but we're in the middle of procuring the services for that work right now. We have a single family reimbursement program, so we are about ready to give reimbursement checks for people that I've already built. So this team up here is working on both of those actively. And then the next one is a single family new construction program. This would be new housing that we offered as a program under the original action plan. So that's where we are with those 3 programs. And then you'll start to see stuff going vertical from those programs. The first one later this summer. Then we have 7 multifamily housing projects that have been approved, 281 units for recon and 238 units for new construction. And then we have another program that's just new con. It's called phase 2, but all that really means is there's developments out there that came in and applied for funds from CDBG-DR. Those are under review. And we'll be able to talk about those once they pass review and get an award. I think that's the Front Street apartment renderings that you're seeing right there. Those were awarded already. Okay, so that's on the housing piece, and those will continue to roll out. But we all know that we can't do housing without infrastructure. We just combined infrastructure and mitigation into one pot just to talk through it. You can jump to the next slide. We conditionally awarded 22 projects so far. They're all projects that you folks would be familiar with that the departments have come in for in the past. Probably the biggest one that is newsworthy or noteworthy is the extension of the bypass north. So this is just a little picture of that. That's been conditionally awarded, and we are working directly with the State Department of Transportation on that project. It's a big project. It's a complicated project because this involves federal highways funds and HUD funds together. So we're matching those two up to work together so we can finish the project. The state DOT has been a great partner in this, and looking forward to a successful project. This slide's not meant to be discuss like every little project on there, but out of those 22 projects that have been awarded, all of this shows where they are. So you can just point to town, but really what they are is water projects, sewer projects, roadway projects that we've been wanting to do for a long time that we're now funding to do. And they're directly as a result of the disaster, we're able to jump in there and do some of these. I'd like to note that we had over $1 billion worth of requests come in from the departments just for infrastructure. We don't have $1 billion just for infrastructure in this program. So we did have to make some hard choices in terms of what's moving forward. We worked with the departments on that and moved several of them forward that are really going to help Lahaina recover long-term and support housing in the future. Next one. So there's 2 more programs that we're working on now. So everything I've just talked about are programs that we started, launched, and implemented. And so those are all moving. 2 more coming, economic revitalization and some public services. So all this chart is really showing is first we have to design the program, then we have to develop policy around the program, get the systems in place, and then we start to bring in the applicants and work through the process. So it's a HUD process that we follow, and it is a cumbersome process that we have to follow. So the folks that are in the stands, they're working through all of the crossing the T's and dotting the I's, the stuff that I'm terrible at, but they're really good at, and making sure we follow all the rules and can get our reimbursement for the funds. I've talked to this group about this in the past, and this is really just our overall funding strategies. Was that one first or second? I'm sorry, what was the one right before that? Okay, overall, next slide, please, thank you. So this is, you folks have seen this slide before. This comes from the action plan. And really what it is just showing is all the programs I talked about in housing, that's the blue. All the stuff that I'm talking about in hazard, MIT, and infrastructure, that's the green and light blue. And you can go to the next phase. And then the bucket kind of helps us understand the remaining need. So out of the 400 million and 213 million for HAZMAT and infrastructure, that's your first line, that's the DR. There's your 613. So we're filling up the bucket. We're identifying all of the other federal programs that are out there and all the state funds that are out there. So that's the FHWA funds, the EPA funds, Bureau of Land funds, FEMA funds. There's a couple other agencies. We've lumped all those together in things that are likely to be committed to the county to help us with this. We have our plan funds, our CIP funds that, and that's coming up in this next budget. And the reason why we're saying committed is like the only thing that's actually committed from the county is the FY 25 and 26, and we're getting ready to talk about 27 over the next few weeks. So this is where we are right now overall for that infrastructure need. So I think the important point here is we're still finding $950 million worth of a gap that we're going to keep looking for. So the funding strategies piece of this is still moving forward. Okay, now I'll turn it back to Erin so you don't have to listen to me more.
Thank you. Okay, so policy updates, we can jump right in. Several of these I shared earlier. The flexibility for off-street parking we shared. Additional changes are moving forward through the Title 19 changes related to parking for residences. As you folks know, we have encountered some issues with density and too many cars being parked on the street, so that's being addressed through those Title 19 updates. As you saw too, there was a change to the community plan to ensure consistency of the zoning to allow for the 35-foot height limit throughout the Lahaina rebuild area. You folks took up the factory-built housing, which is offering expanded opportunities for housing types, and then amending 12.52 with the encroachments. So thank you for those. In terms of increasing housing supply, the council addressed ADUs and also the size limits for those ADUs. So this is giving us a lot more flexibility in the way that we can offer families ways to create housing on their properties. Not everybody fits the same mold. So this gives a lot more flexibility as people are either trying to rebuild or build in new locations. So thank you so much for your partnership on those. In terms of economic recovery initiatives, there's a number of things currently moving forward. As you know, back in December, the pier at Lahaina Small Boat Harbor was opened and resumed commercial activity there. We are supporting that through Office of Recovery by funding both parking management as well as security services in the area because there isn't a lot of presence of folks. It's really just the harbor that's operating. So just to keep things running smoothly, both of those things are assisting, and you'll see continued funds for that in FY27 and our requests coming forward. The Lahaina Business Project was a grant that was funded through both Lahaina Town Action Committee and through the Economic Recovery Commission. That is a space for displaced businesses to be operating, and that's also proceeding nicely. And then, as you folks probably know, the Lahaina Restoration Foundation finalized their master plan, which will rebuild all of the historic structures, that were under their care in a master plan form. Really sad to report that this picture, the Baldwin home, we actually lost the front facade during this last storm. So they are proceeding. They're getting new plans developed right now to ensure that they can continue to move forward. And we'll probably be asking for some extended FEMA public assistance funds. They are undeterred, so that's wonderful to hear. But we're wanting to continue to support and help them. 3 of the facilities that they caretake are county facilities. So those are the ones that we're directing reconstruction funds towards. Next slide.
Okay, let's talk about some non-DR recovery projects and initiatives. So Aaron really was diving into some of the historic restoration, and what we're trying to show here is we have these planned areas that are all working together. So we have the Rebuild Lahaina plan, with the Royal Complex plan that OEV folks are leading. We have the strategic purchase that we did for the Waianae lands that you folks were involved with. That's off on the south side. King Kamehameha III school that this DOT is working on. So I'm sorry, DOE is working on, not DOT. DOT's doing the road. Yeah, so all of that is working together through recovery, and we're acting as a centralized coordinating agency. Each plan has its own purpose and benefit, and what we're connecting all the dots together and how they plan and how they work together, hopefully seamlessly. Do you want to say anything on this slide?
Oh, you did great.
Okay. Next slide. So one of the tools I wanted to highlight that also helps us coordinate effectively is what we're calling One Water Lahaina. This effort is meant to integrate how we look at water. And out of the long-term recovery plan and out of the work that we've funded already, we're using this mechanism to make good decisions around water. And this is really internal first. I know that there's a lot of people that work in the water world, but recovery's taken this more holistic approach. So we're asking questions like, can you maybe go to the next slide? So when we talk about water, we're thinking about water more like this, more like how connected is everything, Maukota Makai, from the ocean all the way to the top of the mountain. How does it work together, and how do those systems that built infrastructure work together? So it's Department of Environmental Management, Department of Water Supply, Department of Public Works, Planning Department, CWRM, Department of Health, Department of Land and Natural Resources. All of those agencies have a piece in water, and all of those are interdependent with each other. So we're using this platform internally right now to help make good decisions on the projects that move forward. A good example is like R1 projects, like how do we fund and what do we fund with R1, and how does that reuse work, and how does that impact development? All of those kind of decisions are being made through this lens, and I just wanted to point that out as a new initiative. It's not like a project in the long-term recovery plan. It's almost more like a process and a philosophy that we're using as we work through long-term recovery.
If I could just chime in, there's actually 8 projects listed independently in the long-term recovery plan that are tied into this. As you said, it's One Water, it's source development, it's drainage improvements, it's Mauka watershed planting efforts. All of it's this comprehensive, and we listed it in the long-term recovery plan as these individual projects. And as they started diving in, we're going, wait, this is all actually interconnected, and this is what the community had been asking for from the beginning, was to approach it in a much more comprehensive way. So it was really John's idea to approach this in a comprehensive approach, and knowing that some other communities have taken this angle at looking at it as a systems approach. So I think we're going to see more and more projects coming forward where we're going as an umbrella, even with human services, as an umbrella, how are we meeting the needs collectively? You know, we're not just looking at the individual senior center that needs to be built. We're looking at what are the other services that are tied to that, and how are we enhancing those comprehensively? So I think One Water is a good example for that.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. What's the next? Is that the last one? Or we have more? Okay. Sorry, it's for the length of this presentation, but we're almost done. So we're also providing technical supports wherever is needed. So I was fortunate enough to be able to go to NACO this year. Several others were there as well, and it was eye-opening to me to see all of the other counties struggling with the same things that we're struggling with. It was really remarkable. I'm happy to say that I think that we are ahead of the game when it comes to long-term recovery, and that would be nationally. I think that it's fair to say that. So we're being looked at as a new kind of model for how do we situate ourselves to be prepared for the next thing. And the next thing happened before we could finish this presentation. I mean, that's the truth. And I don't know what the next thing is going to be, but we are positioning ourselves to do this better. We learned a lot from Lahaina. We're learning a lot from this storm. And our senators agree, and our congressmen agree, and our agencies agree. So we're working with FEMA, we're working with HUD, and there is this idea that there needs to be some change, but the change really comes from us. We're like the grassroots effort, and I think Councilmember Bolton can talk about that even better than I can. So I just wanted to point that out, that we're out there. It's not just a Lahaina thing anymore. It's not just a Maui thing. It's really gotten big, but we're onto something here in terms of how we approach natural disasters. So the long-term recovery support is here and will continue to be here, and happy to talk about how we're continuing to integrate with internally at the county department level, at the state level, and at the national level. So with that, we'll open it up to questions. I mean, we had a really broad agenda, so I think you can pretty much ask anything.
Oh, we're just gonna have to take public testimony
yeah,
first.
sorry.
But did you have a few more slides after that, or those were like appendix slides?
Those are appendix slides depending on where the questions go for this current disaster.
Okay, all right. Members, if you can please write down your questions unless you have any specific clarifying questions. I'd like to go into public testimony for DRIP 9:4. Written testimony is encouraged and can be submitted via the e-comment link at mauicounty.us/agendas. Testifiers wanting to provide oral testimony should join the online meeting via the Microsoft Teams link printed on today's agenda, or call into the phone number which is also on today's agenda. For individuals wishing to testify via Teams, please raise your hand by clicking the raise your hand button near the top right of your screen. For those calling in, please follow the prompts via phone. Staff will add names to the testifier list in the order testifiers sign up or raise their hands. For those on Teams, staff will lower your hand once your name is added. Staff will then call the name you're logged in under and the last 4 digits of your phone number when it's your turn to testify. At that time, staff will also enable your microphone and video. Please ensure your Microsoft Teams name appears as the name you prefer to be referred to, or as anonymous if you wish to testify anonymously. If you are in person, please notify staff that you would like to testify anonymously. Otherwise, please state your name for the record at the beginning of your testimony. Oral testimony is limited to 3 minutes. If you're still testifying beyond that time, I will kindly ask you to complete your testimony. Once you are done testifying, or if you do not wish to testify, you can view the meeting on Akaku Channel 53, Facebook Live, or mauicounty.us/agendas. At this time, we will call on testifiers wishing to testify on DRIP 4.
Thank you, Chair. The first testifier is Johan Lol on Teams. afternoon. Johan Lal, I'm testifying on my own behalf. I really liked the One Water image. Like, it's pretty amazing. And in general, I love those kind of diagrams, and they're super informative for the public to be able to understand these kind of concepts like watersheds and all the stuff that is related. So good job with that. I think there should be things like that in the community plans so that people can understand those kind of things in that context as well. But I hope there's some discussion when you guys start discussing this about the permitting and all of that, all the stuff that goes into that and the amount of work it takes, because I've seen a lot of sentiment online, especially to the effect that the county is like slow walking stuff. And there's also some conspiracies associated with that. Like they're slow walking permits so they can steal the land, or they can give the land to Oprah, and all kinds of bizarre stuff. And what I know from talking to people who work for the county is that they're working extremely hard, and a lot of work is being done by Four Leaf, and they're doing the best they can. And permitting is also really important because it's SMA, it's 3 historic districts, it's archaeological resources, it's EV kupuna buried in the ground in places where you may not know. There's all kinds of considerations. It's not just like you apply for a permit and you get a permit and they're just taking long because they want you to wait long. It's really important stuff. So I hope that gets discussed mainly so that the public can understand it better. Mahalo.
Thank you, Mr. Law. Members, any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Oh, did you have, oh, he just was saying bye.
Chair, that's all the individuals signed up to testify. But I do see the gentleman from Kulauka approaching the podium.
Aloha Avakea, Luna Ho'omolu Paulton, and Komike Ho'opola Pola Aina. JC Long, and yeah, thanks for saying all that stuff about the Kingdom of Hawaii in the beginning, Chair. The Hawaiian word of the day is moana, means ocean. And so we're here in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and I heard all this stuff about the recovery efforts and stuff, FEMA, United States, da da da. On the other side of the ocean over there's a whole big other landmass of countries. I'm pretty sure they heard about the fire in Maui, and I'm pretty sure the whole world has heard about. So I'm just wondering, has Maui reached out to the other countries of the world to see if we can get some help from them? And I'll save the rest of my time for the people of the Aina.
Thank you, members. Any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Chair, the next testifier is Jim Langford on Teams.
Chair, some points that I think be in discussion, exposing the economic units. For example, cost per home built, cost per displaced resident rehoused, time to deliver per unit so that there can be accountability. Also, the consultant burn rate. This CIP plus recovery is hundreds of millions flowing into design, planning, and studies. And perhaps we'd like to see that in physical housing and local workforce scaling. Also, we want to have a closed loop system. So there needs to be a system that connects land, permits, financing, construction, and occupancy. Everything being siloed, it creates delays, alluded to earlier. The general plan also doesn't necessarily equal a execution engine. So it's policy guidance, but it's not an actual operational system. So basically that'll just report on alignment and not delivery. So for the key points, financial accountability, what is the average cost per housing unit delivered using the CDBGDR funds? How much of the 1.6 billion is already contractually obligated to consultants versus construction? The timeline reality, what is the average time from funding approval to occupancy? How many units have actually reached certificate of occupancy? Performance metrics, what is the conversion rate from the allocated funds to the completed housing units? So what percentage of displaced residents are permanently rehoused versus temporary? Execution bottlenecks, what is the largest single delay factor? Permitting, procurement, or contractor availability? Legal availability, what is the current permit cycle time in days? Local economic inclusion, what percentage of the contracts are awarded to Maui-based firms versus off-island firms, disaster capitalists? How much funding is tied to the local agriculture and food security systems? So those are the key points that can be delineated through true execution stats and governance layers and audit layers. So that's what I'm really interested in hearing about today, and going forward as we implement all of these new conversations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Langford. Members, any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Staff?
Chair, the next testifier is Junior Nakoa, to be followed by the Royal House of Hawaii.
Yes, sir. You can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, sir. Hello. How you guys there? Well, I heard the presentation. All I'm gonna say is thank you guys for working that hard to get us to where we are. You know, of course we'd like to go faster, of course, but it's going in the right direction. Yeah. But one of the main things that was said in the very beginning was going to be community-led and then government supported, yeah? One thing I really said, like, you know, I heard about all the departments being involved, from the sea worm to the water, to the this and that. One thing I never hear was community. Why isn't the community being able to come at the table? Okay, I'm going to tell you guys this. You know, I had that big seaward meeting about the Maui Land and Pine and Kapulua Golf Course. The Lahaina residents went all the way over there, and we made our voices heard. I couldn't be there because I had to babysit my grandson, but a lot of the Honokahau guys went, yeah? And then you know what they got out of that game? Is that they actually went to the actual Honokahau Valley residents to ask them exactly what they wanted. Maybe they didn't slide dog on Maui Land and Pine. We still got to work on that. But what I'm trying to get is all of this recovery, all of these things. Not only Uncle Earl them and that group, the one, I don't know, the mayor's advisory group. Sometimes you gotta go stretch them out there. Stretch them out. So come talk to the other people who bust in the Okole. You know, who's out here, you know, trying to do things for our community. You know what I mean? Because get other people who they talk. Yeah. But so, mahalo for what you guys doing. Don't get me wrong. But make sure we get the voice. And then I'm going to tell you, I heard you guys saying about make sure all these houses get parking for the cars. Ooh-wee! Where my daughter's here living right now. Oh, bruh, my golf cart get a hard time pass through sometimes, you know? And it's not how I see permits got passed for this. My landlord, he doesn't got passed, but you know how many parking stalls he can put? 20 cars we can put on this land. I did it already a couple times with my family gathering, my baby's party, you know, all that kind of stuff. But I see other houses, I barely parking for 2 cars. And then you check how huge these houses is. So whoever passed it, I'm gonna call pretty soon. Whoever went past all those permits, I hope you guys make sure all those cars can be parked on their property. Because that's exactly what I told my daughter, who still lost their house, and the house not gonna be burnt. Not gonna be built yet. Because a stupid contractor, you guys gonna hear about him, and I think you guys heard about him. But we gotta get these guys to build homes where each of their cars can park on their property, or else we're gonna end up in the same situation. That's all I'm talking about.
Thank you, Mr. Nakoa. My clarifying question is, were you aware that we passed the parking bill out of committee last strip committee? So not this Friday, but the following council meeting, it'll be up for first reading. And if you want to support it, we'd appreciate your testimony.
Automatic, I'll be ready for that one. Yes, sir. Mahalo for the reminder.
Thank you. Members, any other clarifying questions for Mr. Nakoa? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
You guys have a good one. Yes, sir.
Chair, the last individual signed up is the Royal House of Hawaii.
Aloha.
Aloha.
This is the Royal House of Hawaii, and I'm a Alorio land holder, royal patent holder, yeah. And a descendant, yeah, of the royal patent original title holders. So with any of the lands that are being used, will for any of the lands that's being used, have the none of the descendants have gotten contacted and are pretty much are being displaced at the same time. So it's like, are you guys gonna contact them? Or yeah, I'm like, and what will like, or wait, actually, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to think right now. But please contact the Royal Patent Alorio lands that are going to be being used, because all of Hawaii is Alorio titled, and that can never be changed. And the TMKs are weirdly and oddly being changed online. So can you guys please fix that ASAP? Because the Alorio Royal Patent RP grant, Royal Patent grant, and Land Commission Award is supposed to be shown in the TMKs of all the lands that's being used, contact the descendants again. And made by Kamehameha III, his royal patents, the original title holders, descendants, please, and thank you. And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. House. Members, do you have any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Staff, are there additional members wanting to testify?
Chair, that's everyone signed up. We can provide a last call for oral testimony. Please come to the podium or raise your hand on Teams if you would like to testify. I'll provide the count. 3, 2, 1. Seeing none, Chair, no one has indicated they wish to testify.
Members, any objection to closing oral testimony and accepting written testimony into the record? Thank you. I'll start off with giving each member 4 minutes to ask questions, because that was a lot of information, and if we need more rounds, we can get more rounds. And I'll start off with my committee vice chair, Nohe U'uhajins, backtrack to member Sinensi, and then head back this way.
Thank you, Chair. For right now, I guess I don't have too many questions. I would like to say that I think you guys are doing a really good job. Unfortunately, Lahaina is the best example of worst case scenario when it comes to permitting, and I understand how difficult it is. And so for right now, that's kind of all I have. That was a very comprehensive overview, and we saw some of it too in the mayor's address of the county the other week. So unless I come up with something, I'll let you know. Thank you.
Member Sinensi?
Mahalo, Chair, and I too wanted to extend my gratitude and to the entire team for all of the work that you guys have been doing. It's pretty impressive. And I know that the director, we got to spend some time in DC. Your work doesn't just stay here. It actually goes, and the advocacy part still has to continue up in Washington. My question for the One Water Lahaina program, so does this require acquiring private water systems and acquiring private lands? And does this work include partnering with philanthropic agencies?
Chair. Okay. I'll never get the protocol quite right, but thank you. That's a great question. I would think of the One Water Lahaina program as the mechanism to have those conversations more effectively. So it's not that we're going out to acquire land or we're going out to purchase private water companies. The system will allow the county to think through that process more holistically, and then we can help support those decisions from a One Water lens. I think that's the way I would put it. And we would and will be welcoming support from nonprofits and others. But right now we're in the getting our house in order phase of this before we go more publicly outside to community groups and nonprofits.
Okay, so probably open to community grants should those partnerships form?
Well, the community grants would be maybe more through the Office of Recovery in terms of it's a recovery initiative, but the One Water group would be the one that would help vet how that would help the initiatives.
Okay, and then, yeah, I too like the infographic, but since Member Johnson is not here, I'll ask his question about wetlands. Would the infographic also include wetlands?
Yes. Anything to do in the hydrologic cycle from the aquifer all the way up through is how you would think about it. So, and we know wetlands can offer all sorts of benefits to the ecology and to groundwater recharge. So some of the best conversations I've had so far on this whole One Water approach are those that work with OEV the most and how they're thinking through how systems should work. So it's really interesting because we're in a built environment that runs right through a natural environment. So we're pulling both elements together and thinking through that, I think, in a better way. And it's come from an engineer who was trained very differently. But I think it's going to be a good thing for us overall.
Thank you for that, Director. And then as an engineer, how are you looking at when it comes to infrastructure, like you said, the built environment, bridges, walkways over involving water as an engineer?
Yeah, it's a really good discussion because typically when you think about a bridge engineers go to school to do bridges, and that's what they focus on, and they just do bridges. And then road guys do roads, and water guys do water, and ecological guys just do ecological stuff. One Water pulls it all together. Yeah. And it has the right disciplines in the room to talk through these problems holistically.
Okay, great. I think they have the right guy.
There's an accountability that's missing when you silo too much. And that's what we're really saying is we're going to make all these groups accountable to each other so when we make the decisions, it's a better decision.
Great approach. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Member Sinensi. And I forgot to mention that Councilmember Sugimura has been in here from kind of the start of your presentation. She just was a little bit tardy. Aloha Winala and half a day. Kia ora. E komo mai.
Great presentation. Thank you.
And next up, we have Member Cook.
Thank you, Chair. A very excited Member Cook. Great presentation. The organization, the structure, the collaboration and the momentum that you've brought with the Office of Recovery.
On that too.
Yeah. Anyway, it's great. The flood that we recently had, South Maui was impacted, I won't say more than anybody else, but as much as anybody. And I'm excited. So I'm going to focus on that just for a second in my questioning. And the One Water is really cool because like the silos are kind of like magnetic and keeping people polarized in a way. And like the natural methods and the engineering methods and everybody working together, Maukana Makai. One of the challenges, so anyway, I'm hopeful. I'm not hopeful that we're a disaster area, but I'm hoping that what you're doing in your office can help the revitalization and the reconstruction of South Maui. One of the things we really need is to address the upstream stormwater capture and management. One of the things that we have that's a major impediment that you're probably aware of is the regulatory impacts of the 2006 Kaloko Dam failure on Kauai and the Hawaii Dam and Reservoir Safety Act of 2007, HRS Chapter 179D, flood mitigation for South. It's basically what I've talked to other department heads and other people, a major impediment to utilizing Pono-wise reservoirs, detention, retention basins, all of that. So working with Senator McKelvey and hoping that we can change that legislation and make some more user-friendly laws. So South Maui is a great area to work with. The landowners are receptive, and there's not that many of them. They have a nonprofit, Malama Halakala. So do you have any enthusiasm to share with this concept?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think we've said it a couple times now, like these disasters really shed a light on this in a way that gets things to move. I'll just put it that way. I drove through South Maui yesterday, and I have never seen it that bad, and I've done this for a while now, at least 5 times worse than I've seen. So I do recognize the significance of this, and I don't want to talk about a disaster as an opportunity. I want to recognize how bad it is out there, but this is definitely a way to utilize a resource like One Water to galvanize an effort around doing something different with the land that's above Kihei. And I think that's a really important discussion that we should have right now. And I think this will give us some legs to get something done there. It's very expensive, what we're talking about. But literally had this conversation with the mayor this morning. So, yes.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much. I look forward to talking more with you about it.
Thank you. Next up, Member Rawlings Fernandez for your opportunity.
Mahalo, Chair, and mahalo, Director and Deputy for the presentation and the entire team. I can see you folks in the gallery. Mahalo for your hard work. It's very impressive. I don't have like too many questions, just a couple minor questions. And similar, Director Smith, that the first time I attended an NACO conference, learning how others manage their resources and their the challenges that they experience similar to ours was really eye-opening. But also like learning how like different the systems are, such as the hydrological cycles systems. I like the One Water concept. I guess my question regarding that is, it feels like appropriation of Ahupua'a management, but rebranded as One Water, and so it feels like rebranding at best and cultural erasure at worst. So renaming it One Water without crediting the practice and intellectual property of the kupuna of this place. Our Molokai community plan acknowledges everything is connected, as you stated in your remarks. and advises the county to utilize the 8 realms of decision-making as noted by renowned Kumu John Kaimikawa. And in our community plan, the 8 realms are Moananui-a-Kea, which is the farthest out to sea, Kahakai Pepeau, which is the high tide, Mauka, which is the lepo soil from the top of the mountain, Namuliwai, which is the freshwater areas, Kalevalani, which is everything above the land, air, sky, clouds, Kanakahonua, natural resources important to sustain people, Papahelo Lona, that's the knowledge and intellect that is valuable resources, and Ke'ihi, which is the elements that maintain the sanctity and sacredness of certain places. So those are the realms as described by Kumujan Kaimikawa. So my question is, in calling it One Water, was, because it just looks like Ahupua management, was that discussed?
Yes, and thank you for helping me understand that history and that understanding of the Ahupua'a. I am just using the language, and we want to acknowledge, we just pulled that graphic from a textbook, so it's not meant to be, it hasn't been fully immersed culturally, and I want to acknowledge that. That's something we're working towards. Like I said before, One Water Lahaina, as envisioned, is getting our own internal house in order, and that's mostly engineers and scientists that have been trained that way. So we're using mostly that language right now, but we are meeting with OEV Resources, actively meeting with them, so we can pull in everything that you just said into our thinking, our thinking. So I don't want to speak to what I don't know. So I'm just using the language that I do know, and happy to listen and learn and incorporate it fully. Thank you.
Mahalo for that response. And, with one of our testifiers, Mr. Nakua, I know you folks have been having lots and lots of meetings with the community, so I don't doubt that you're incorporating a lot of the feedback that is coming from community. And I want to acknowledge our community also, who are scientists through the practice of Kilo, because for those that maybe did not get an engineering degree or a science degree, that their Ike Kupuna, Ike Hawaii is also valid and should be acknowledged when talking about, hooing up the scientists, like our Kupuna, those on the ground doing the Kilo. Are you including their voices equally?
Thank you for that. We're going to work towards making that more equal. I can say it that way. We just got started, and we're going to take this feedback and we're going to make sure it's incorporated appropriately. I just had my first meeting with Kumu from OEV last week on this particular topic. So you're ahead of us a little bit, but we are heading in that direction. So thank you for this input.
Mahalo, appreciate that. Mahalo, Chair.
Thank you. Council Chair Lee.
Thank you. John, Aaron, everybody, great presentation, good work. I do have some questions on housing. Now, what was your goal when you started out? How many homes did you think you could help be replaced?
In terms of units, we were originally, we can go back to the action plan and put the numbers, but we're trying to get close to 1,000 units overall with this.
All right. So of the 1,000, how many folks are back in their homes?
Of the 1,000, yeah. So I want to be careful not to mix and match the DR, but there are, let me get the numbers. So 160 are home now overall for recovery.
Okay, 160 of the 1,000.
No. Out of the 1,000, there's only maybe just a handful that are actually in their homes right now. So most of those haven't gone through the construction process yet. So all of the programs that I talked about and all those numbers that are in there, those are all are in the permit process, already approved permit process, or under construction. The ones that are making it home from this fund are the ones who are following the first-time home buyer process.
Okay.
And to clarify, 160 is units, not people, right?
That's right. It's not people, it's units, so it's the families.
Okay, no, because I'm wondering, we're kind of going all over the place in the sense that I would imagine the highest priority would be getting people whose homes were burnt down, those people first to rebuild and reoccupy, yeah? And for which you said a handful, so a handful is like 20 or what?
Well, there's like I said, there's 40 some people shopping for homes right now. 6 have moved in. That's just that first program. But that's depends on which program we're talking about. I don't want to confuse the numbers, but
Okay, so there's a mixture of the 1,000 units, and the owners of the 1,000 units are mixed in with the 501 applications of people applying for new homes.
yeah, the number of folks that will become like first-time home buyer owners, that's a small number for that program. So there's around 150 people that will become housed permanently from that program. And that's really just moving people from rent to own. All the rest of the numbers that we talked about are actual units that we're getting ready to build.
Okay. Of the 501 applications, you said there's about how many will be
There's
qualified?
about 150.
150.
From that group.
Okay, and the cost to that is $500 million,
No, that's 92 million.
92 million.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and that's one of the 3 programs.
Right.
Okay, so one of the 3 programs is going to cost 92 million, and how much for the second program?
Can I bring a resource down to help
Sure,
me answer
sure.
these? Because I don't have them all at the top of my head. I'm sorry.
And then the third one?
Yes. Well, yes.
Like, I think,
This is Jeannie.
Can you introduce yourself and explain your expertise that qualifies you as a resource for the record, please? Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have them off the top of my head.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Jeannie Sutton. I'm a program manager with BDO and working here with the County of Maui to help them implement their CDBG-DR funds. As John mentioned, there are several different programs that are funded with CDBG-DR funds. The first program that John mentioned, $92.5 million for first-time home buyer assistance program. That program's estimated to serve approximately 150 households. We also have a single-family homeowner reconstruction and reimbursement program that's currently allocated approximately $298 million in CDBG-DR funds. That is anticipated to serve a maximum of 250 households. Additionally, we have approximately $420 million allocated towards multifamily reconstruction and new construction programs. In total, those programs can construct up to 1,000 multifamily housing units.
Wait a minute, 1,000 so what happened to the original 1,000 people whose homes burnt down? I mean, what I'm seeing is a migration to other areas and other people who need housing.
I can take that one.
Okay.
So that's the reconstruction program. The reconstruction program was designed out of those 1,000 to help about 250. So there's money for 250 because it's an income-based program. So all of the 1,000 that burned down are 5,000 units, right? But there's you're talking. I don't want to confuse structures and units and that. But of all of the homes that were lost, this program set aside to be able to help people rebuild from the ground 250 homes. So far, we have around 60-some applicants for that program. And so it's income-based. So what we're talking about right now is whether or not we need to increase the eligibility for that program.
Yeah, okay, and later I'll be asking about the 1,000 units for the third part. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Member Sugimura, your
Thank you. Excellent, right? Thank you very much for the work you all are doing, right, with your team. Oh, talk louder. So I am interested in your infrastructure recovery funding needs where you have this big gap. I don't know if Member Senensi's question was similar, but the unfunded need, which is 950 million, and what are we going to do about that so that we can have completion?
Okay. I may call on another resource if they're online to talk about just funding strategies really quick. But the general idea is there are a lot of different federal funds out there that we knew about before the fire, but now we're really zeroed in on these possibilities. So we know about HUD and we know about this 1.6, but we've also now know about the EPA. We also now know about federal highways and some additional opportunities with them, FHWA. We're working with Ed Sniffen on that right now for this disaster. And so there's money there. There are additional.
USDA, right?
There's USDA, which is also NRCS. So there's funds there. There is, I'm sorry if I'm forgetting. Oh, hazard mitigation funds from FEMA. So every time we have that disaster, we'll get a new pot there. So we're attempting to fill the gap, that 959 or 949 million, with those opportunities in these other departments federally. And each one has a different mechanism to get to it, and there's a changing landscape in Washington that we're tracking closely. So when opportunities arise, we can make sure we get our applications in and take advantage of those programs. Build grants is another one. And there's people in the stands nodding their heads like we're tracking all of this stuff live. So as it becomes an option for Maui County, we put our ring in the hat to get access to it. That's the strategy. That's the simple strategy.
Fabulous, right? So this is all the dreams come true in terms of finding additional funding. Yesterday in my BFED committee, we had grants, all the different departments that do grants, and we had Josiah come and report on only not only, but the two projects that are in Office of Recovery.
Maybe move the mic closer to your mouth.
Oh, you still can't hear me? So the question I have related to grants is, it sounds like the administration is trying to do something to have one organization or one framework to do all grants. So is all of this going to fall under the new marching orders, I guess, that's coming from the Chief of Staff and the Budget Director Milner to put some unity in how grants will be handled? Do you know about it?
I think maybe better for Aaron to start this one. I mean, I'm happy to talk about the grants that Recovery has, but I don't know this.
To clarify, Member Sugimura, are you talking about grants going out or grants coming in?
I don't know. I would imagine that it's a comprehensive plan that administration talked about.
Because I think there's one program about grants going out, which wouldn't be the same as grants coming in. And I think what Mr. Smith was talking about is grants coming in, right?
Well, in terms of the funding gap that we have, and then I'm really talking about going after federal grants for the county coming in. But I think the question is, what about the grants that are going out, and how are we going to manage that, like holistically, I guess? And I would defer to Deputy Managing Director to start that answer.
I guess the question is, are you all part of the same team? You know, because of the presentation we saw yesterday, and it made me think about listening to you and how important this is. And everything else?
Yeah, thank you for that question. We have been working with Chief of Staff, particularly on the admin rules and the adjusted language for the management of grants. So we do feel like consistency across the grants is going to actually be really helpful in terms of both expectations from the team managing the grant as well as the team applying for the grant. So honestly, the clarity is what we're looking for first and foremost, but we do have a number of grant partners we're already working with that we've started all of these procedures with already. So I don't see that as being an issue in terms of continuity of managing grants that we've already awarded.
Okay, thank you.
Member Batangan?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, John. Thank you, Aaron, for being here. And thank you to everybody and your team who's here with us as well. Okay, first question. What is the total amount of obligated funds and what is the total amount of expended funds from the CDBG DR appropriation? And are we meeting all federal milestones necessary to avoid recapture of these monies?
Okay, I may need to bring down our resource again so I don't say the wrong numbers, but when you say obligated, you mean how much of those programs has been applied to like a project? Yeah, we're approaching $1 billion out of the 1.6 today. So out of the awards, I met with HUD leadership in DC when we were there, and they are very happy with our progress to date in terms of how are we managing the grant. All of that is in the planning phases right now, so you're not going to see big expenditures yet. We're, I think, $10 million spent so far, or something like that. It's not, I'm not exactly sure what that number is, but it's relatively small compared to where we're going. So you'll start to see that rise very quickly now that we have all these projects and things moving forward.
Thank you. How is OOR ensuring that the CDBG DR funds are used as funding of last resort as required by HUD? Has there been any instance where county funds were used for expenses that were later deemed FEMA reimbursable?
Both great questions. Both are, they're programmatic things built into this system that we're working on. So everybody behind you here, like, ask those kind of questions before we expend anything. So an easy way to think through it is we don't just like give out the money. There's an application process. That application process asks questions like, is this FEMA eligible? If it's FEMA eligible, how much did you get? Once we understand that, you have to provide all that information from FEMA. We look through it in detail and say, okay, they're getting this and they should get this much. So I have actually two different consultants up here. One's on the FEMA side, one's on the HUD side. They work together to make sure that we, one, don't spend money that we could get from FEMA, or two, don't go the other way too. So every single project that's eligible has that scrutiny. And yeah, so I'm happy to report that.
Thank you.
It's a
I'm
very
happy to hear that.
It's a very complicated system that we're working in.
Okay. So last question. So you mentioned $1 billion in infrastructure requests from the departments, and you mentioned that OOR had to make hard choices. Was the council involved in any of those hard choices?
Not to my knowledge on those choices, but all of those projects are projects that were in the 6-year CIP from our budget. So it wasn't like we were picking from projects you haven't seen before. These are just infrastructure projects that we would know about.
I'm asking this question as a lead up because the charter vests the power to appropriate money with the council. But the DR funding seems to be working slightly different than that. And I'm trying to understand like where the authority comes from or what the coordination has been and like what role the council has in appropriating funds for recovery.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's why we wanted to have this meeting now to talk about all the things that you've already appropriated last year, actually. So the 1.6 was recognized in FY25 at the end of the year based on the action plan that we had out there. And all of those infrastructure and housing projects were in that plan. So that was the mechanism for that to work. Now what we're talking about in FY27 is all the PUCAs that we have that we can't fill from that 959 and all the rest of that.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Administration.
Thank you. I think it's kind of like the COVID money, yeah, when we have to accept it, and then that's the last bite at the apple. Like CDBG, we have to accept it, and then luckily they're coming back and consulting with us, maybe more so than when it was the COVID money. But for my question, I wanted to ask about water. I don't think Director Stufflebean's on the line, but it was my understanding that he wanted water to be able to go both ways. Like, no, because R1 is Mr. Nakagawa, right? But I mean, I don't mind R1 going both ways too, but if water can go north or south, and if it were that way, when the fire occurred, when we were up north, we had like, I don't know, Civil Air Patrol, like, and a bullhorn telling us we could drink the water up north or something. And everybody in the burn zone and other maps couldn't even boil the water to drink. So if the drinking water goes both directions, and that's how it were before the town burnt down, would us up north have been under no boil, no drink water advisory too?
I mean, that's a good question, but I don't think I can answer for water supply. I know there are ways to isolate systems.
Maybe
and
we
that
can
be,
send them a letter.
That can be brought into the equation, but.
And then in the term, as Mr. Nicole was saying, community-led, government-supported, in majority of the community, they would like the R1 Water South, like to create sort of a green buffer for ag and like that, because Lahaina burnt down and it's green right now after 10 inches of rain in a weekend. But majority of the year it's not. And majority of the year up north, Mahina North, is green, except for when it's in like these extreme droughts that we've been having. And so it seems there's side conversations with foreign billionaires, and when is it that we will know, or when is it that the community gets to provide that input in an open and transparent manner, instead of like hearing about foreign billionaire behind closed door meetings?
Well, I also don't want to speak for DEM. I mean, I think the work on the One Water Lahaina in terms of how to think through water systems is a good platform to have discussions like that. And then
Okay, then so the multifamily rebuilds, are they being equipped to utilize R1 water for irrigation, landscape irrigation purposes?
if that would be a design issue when we get into that build, but if we're doing it, I would say yes. If it's a private developer and that we're just helping with the
If
funding.
they're utilizing CDBG DR monies, could it be a requirement? Could we have them use the R1 water for their toileting and things like that?
I don't know if we could have it, I don't want to mix up gray water and R1 water, but we can set specific requirements on those developments, depending on,
Like
the
low
desire of the.
flow fixtures, R1 irrigation, landscape irrigation?
Well, a good example is really the Firewise aspect of it. So the developments in the houses that will be funded through DR it's built in the program that they need to be Firewise. So, which means it's going to look different because of the landscaping is going to be different, the roof's going to be a little bit different, but on purpose to be more fire resilient. But you can do similar things with fixtures and water.
And then, like, if you drive through the burn zone right now after all this rain, a lot of them are not in compliance with the fire code. Is anything being done about that?
Yeah, I mean, the compliance issues will still fall to the departments in terms of the fire department and the building inspectors, et cetera. But I would encourage the public to continue to report on those particular issues, because that's often how we find out about it and can take action.
Thank you. Anybody by hand, second round? I'll go with Committee Vice Chair Hodgins, followed by Council Chair Lee.
Thank you. I found my one question I had written down. So this is in regards to the Lahaina bypass extension. I understand we're going to commit $100 million. Is that what we said we're going to do?
They're eligible for $100 million for that project. It's about a $220 million project.
Okay, that was my question. And primarily, the rest of the funds are going to come from state, federal?
It's a federal highways funded project that would be from the state, yeah.
And you said they're eligible for $100 million?
Yeah, so they've been issued a conditional award letter for up to $100 million.
Okay. Okay. When do you, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, and I believe Deputy Wade said that they could just put R1 pipe under the infrastructure for that, no?
Well, the bypass is also a utility corridor. So there's desire to move water along that corridor.
Okay. And when do you think the anticipated start and finish date for that is?
Well, that's a big project. There is a start and end date as part of their application, but it's about a 5-year project.
Sure, that's understandable. Thank you.
Chair Lee to be followed by Member Cook to be followed by Member Sinensi.
Okay, John, who would I speak to regarding getting exact numbers on housing?
Jeannie.
Jeannie,
She's
the
right.
person that came down?
Yes.
Okay, if you don't mind, I'll contact her another time, maybe tomorrow.
Thank you. Sorry, I don't have it all in my head.
Okay, because I was concerned that of the 2,000 homes or so that burnt down, 80% of the owners did not live there. They rented out the units. Yeah. So the 80% of those people, are they paying for their rebuilds with the settlement money or insurance money or other money, is my question.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. So in the action plan, it says it's over 5,000 units that were lost total. A number of them, as you know, are already rebuilding. Those are paying for the reconstruction with their own monies. So in addition to that, the 80% that you're listing is the total, is the renter. So that was properties that were rented. Whether they were full-time residents or not, we don't actually have a distinction specific to that. So a lot of those renters were full-time renters. You know, they were our own community members. So that's why the multifamily reconstruction program is so important, because a lot of those folks were dependent on living in multifamily or single-family units that were long-term rentals.
Okay, so all of the people who would be benefiting from the various housing programs that you've established are victims of the fire.
That's right.
They're not from any place else.
That's right.
Right? Okay. And although you're providing for housing for those folks, the people who own the properties that burnt down, most of them, the vast majority were not living there. Are they going to continue to rent out those units? Do you know?
The question saying that the vast majority were not living there, I don't know that we have verified information on that. I think the majority were living there. There were some that were short-term rentals, and if you want specific numbers on what those were, we can get that to you.
Okay, my understanding is the vast majority were not owner occupants.
That's correct, yes.
Oh, that is correct.
Yep.
That was my point. Okay, so I have lots of questions on housing. Honestly, this whole thing is so confusing, hard to to nail down to specifics, and that's why, if you don't mind, I will pursue this another time. Okay, with your staff. Thank you.
I would just like to clarify, we actually have the demographics broken down in the action plan for CDBG-DR. So we could do a one-sheeter that actually has a lot of that data really
That's current.
available.
That's current.
Yes.
Yeah, not a plan, but an actual report.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Member Cook, followed by Member Sinensi.
Thank you. Thank you. So my question, the $213,832,000 that's for hazard mitigation, is that $100 million potentially for the road coming out of that?
No, that's That's actually infrastructure. The mitigation projects include things like a buyback program on the shoreline. So that's one. Some resilience in infrastructure.
Would it be like flood mitigation?
Yeah,
qualify for that?
It could, yes. And then there is a cost share that goes with the FEMA HMGP program. So it's also hazard mitigation. So FEMA comes in and they set up a mitigation program as well, but the county has to pay a share of that. So some of that $213 million is going to go towards matching those funds. That way the county actually doesn't have to pay for any of it. So those were the easy calls too. So it's like FEMA's going to do 80%, HUD's going to do 20%, county doesn't have to pay. A really good example of that is putting backup generation at all of our pump stations for water. And that's island-wide. So that was a project that got approved by FEMA. They need a match. This is eligible to match. It's the only fund that matches other federal funds, and that's why we're so focused, and that's why I talk so much about the other federal agencies.
So this leads me to my next question. Those funds could be used island-wide and not simply in...
The hazard mitigation can.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's my questions, Chair. Mahalo.
Member Sinensi?
Thank you, Chair. Any updates or plans for the old Kamehameha Third School location?
Yes, in the presentation, we pointed out the chosen location by the state, and it's directly adjacent to the Waianae lands that the county just purchased, in between the highway and Honopilani. So it's on one of those slides there. I just didn't point it out.
Did you mean the old site?
The existing.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant the new one. Yeah, that's falling under the planning efforts that OEV Resources has underway for the Royal Complex.
Okay, thank you.
Member Sugimura, followed by Member Rollins Fernandez.
Thank you. So commercial district, the commercial property owners, I went to that meeting that you had at the at the MAC, right upstairs. And it was announced then that Four Leaf was going to help commercial. I was told that was my first time that hand was offered to commercial. Thank you very much. And I'm hearing also that they're still feeling like they're kind of a lot more to do with them. And what is the Office of Recovery doing next steps forward? But thank you for offering Four Leaf. I hope it's helping.
And thank you for that comment. We talk a lot about the complications in permitting. It's so much more difficult when you get into the commercial realm in terms of like all of the different rules and laws that they have to apply to those properties. And the closer you get to the ocean, the more complicated it gets. So I think we got to recognize that it's always been understood that we could offer that service from a commercial standpoint for Four Leaf, but maybe this just pushed it over. But I don't think that's necessarily going to be the answer one way or another in terms of the speed. We still needed to add clarity on the process itself. So what Office of Recovery has done, and Deputy Managing Director has been a huge help in this, is jumped into that space with all of the regulatory agencies to clear paths for those commercial owners. So and that's what we learned in that commercial workshop. And then we're going to do another commercial workshop, and we're going to keep doing commercial workshops until we have it as clear as it can be. But we still haven't received like tons of applications yet. We have some in the works, but I think what a lot of people are thinking, like, what's the county doing? But like, we need applications actually. So they're coming in now. It's actually moving. But you want to add to that, Aaron?
Thank you. I guess I would just like to say we need to send a big thank you to the few that have proceeded through the commercial permitting because we've learned where the sort of obstacles are. They've been in close communication, talk about community feedback and adjusting the system as a result. So they've shared with us where they're hitting obstacles, and then we're either trying to develop the recovery coordination directives to support or working with the county council to make some amendments to make sure that recovery can proceed more smoothly. So I think the more permits we get in, as John is alluding to, the faster the bulk of the permits will start moving.
Yeah, I mean, nobody wanted to rebuild a whole town, and it really is really complicated when you think of it. The rules are not meant to, they're really one-off property by property, and so we're taking a little bit more holistic approach. So what we're doing is providing guidance where guidance is needed, and then when we actually need to change the rules, we're coming to you folks and saying, hey, we should probably fix this, and that was the legislative update that we had here. So a number of those have moved forward, and if we find a new one that we need to fix, we would love to come back and work with you on that.
Okay. So people that I hear from, I can just send them your way, right? And the main thing is for them to apply, is what you're saying.
Yeah, we're making it so they can comply.
Okay. And I want you to know that whenever anybody asks John a question, watch how he flips his mic. He looks like a superstar rock star singer. You guys
Now
can't
I
see?
can never do that again. I'm sorry.
Can you see? He's right in front of me. So every time he answers a question.
We're going to need you to stand up and flip your mic, I guess. Are you done?
Wasn't expecting that comment.
Not on your bingo card.
Thank you.
Are you done?
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, Member Rollins Fernandez.
Mahalo, Chair. My last question is regarding the testimony we received from Mr. Langford. I thought he made some good points. I know a lot of the questions that he asked in his testimony is answered in your folks' report and in some of the plans. One of the things I wanted to follow up on was regarding prioritizing like Maui-based entities and like maximizing the local circulation of funding. Would you be able to comment on if that's something that is part of the discussion and something you folks are working on?
Yeah, we want to keep as much of it here and in local companies as we possibly can. I think the reality of this large of a disaster is there is expertise that we needed to tap into all over the world, actually. But we're doing our best, the way we procure things and the way we implement projects, to have local folks, local companies, as much as we possibly can win those awards. So it is just part of how we're doing business as a whole. I mean, you want to add in?
Sure. I would just like to add, when we set up our procurements and we're putting things out to bid, we are identifying local knowledge and local understanding as one of the criteria, and that we're asking teams to demonstrate that across the board. So that's giving us multifaceted teams. It's getting us, I think, some of the best national minds combined with our local teams, which is giving us more breadth and more capacity than we would have otherwise. So it's been really good.
Yeah, and if it's okay, I just add one more thing in terms of workforce development. What we're exposing local Maui workers to, and sometimes is something that they would never get exposed to before. So the development of our team, who's sitting right here, is happening as we go. And I'm really, really happy about that. And I think the team that we're forming and working with now, they'll be able to do anything after this. I mean, literally anything. So that's really, really cool.
Mahalo for sharing that with the public and for the record. I think, you started saying before the presentation, your comments were about how an Office of Recovery is something that we needed. And I think after the 2018 fire, that was something that we're pushing MEMA to develop. And at that time, under the different leadership, that wasn't quite happening. I think it was just like one position for recovery. And, you know, I mean, I don't have to state the obvious of like one position can't accomplish what your office is accomplishing. And to have the system and infrastructure in place to be able to then, you know, tackle the types of, you know, disasters that we just experienced with this Konolo is so significant and of incredible value to our county and to our people. So I just wanted to mahalo and reiterate that I agree.
Mahalo.
Does anyone have a need for a third round? Okay. If there are no objections, the chair will defer this item. And we can take a 13-minute recess to switch it up and get ready for our next 7B presentation with planning. I don't know if you guys want to give this big team a round of applause. And our sincere gratitude for all your help with all the recoveries that are happening and are yet to come.
If I could just comment real quick, I think you folks know before you on Friday is going to be a request for the emergency funds for this current disaster. We are already talking about the utilization and extreme need for those. So looking forward to that discussion on Friday. Thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate the opportunity.
And if I could add to that, Chair, we need as many people attending the meeting. We have one person that can't make it. We need 7 votes to pass that. Thank you.
Okay, this meeting is in recess. That used up 2 of our minutes, so we'll see you back here in 11 minutes at 3:30. 3:30. Will the Disaster Recovery International Affairs and Planning Committee meeting return to order? The time is now 3:33. Thank you, members, for that pause for the cause. Next up, we have DRIP 9:10, the 2025 Annual General Plan Implementation Report. Under Rule 7B of the Rules of the Council, the committee intends to discuss the Annual General Plan Implementation Report. No legislative action will be taken. County Communication 23-26, which was transmitted, which transmitted the Planning Director's report, was uploaded as Granicus number 1. This report is consolidated as one. In previous years, it was submitted as 2 separate reports. And at this time, I'd like to receive any opening comments or presentations from the director or the Mr. Forsyth.
Thank you, Chair Paulton. So I'd like to introduce Scott Forsyth. He's our Planning Program Manager for the Plan Implementation Division. And as the title of the division states, implementation is their cause, and he'll go over the annual report. They've been preparing this report since, I think, 2016. And so we're kind of getting it down, and he's got a brief presentation for you. Thank you.
And thank you for your flexibility in letting Office of Recovery go first. They had some storm-related business to attend to. By the way, Mr. Forsyth is my blood donor buddy, and we're going to be donating tomorrow if anyone wants to make a donation of blood at the Cameron Center. My appointment is 8:15. I think his is noon. Remember, Cook's in the afternoon, too.
Good to go?
All right ahead.
Hello, Chair Paulton and council members. I am Scott Forsyth. I'm the Plan Implementation Division Chief. This presentation provides a brief overview of the 2025 Annual General Plan Implementation Report, which is included in your meeting materials as a letter dated January 14th. The report can also be found on the department's website under the Plan Implementation Division. I have about 10 slides to go through that summarizes the annual report, and I'll try to make this brief. So county charter and county code requires that the planning department provide an annual report to the mayor and council on the implementation of the general plan. The report before you summarizes progress on implementing the county's general plan based on status updates provided to the planning department last December by other county departments and from research done within the Plan Implementation Division. So you should all already be familiar with the general plan documents, but as a brief overview, it consists of a countywide policy plan, 4 island plans, and 6 community plans specific to Maui Island. And today, because I know you guys probably have never printed them out, here they are. I carry them around in my backpack so I don't have to go to the gym and do squats, but here are all the documents for you. Together, these plans establish long-term goals, objectives, policies, and implementing actions that guide growth, development, and resource management across the county. I'll just add that in addition to, the general plan, there's probably about 1,000 other pages of documents that the planning department, needs to review in order to implement the general plan, including the Title 19 code, various administrative rules for the planning commissions, and Hawaii revised statute and other policies and procedures. So it's quite a big chunk of information that we, assess to implement this. Next. The annual report focuses specifically on 1,261 implementing actions identified within these plans. They're intended to advance the goals and policies of the general plan. I think it's also important to mention that, over 1,200 actions is a lot. Jackie also stated that this morning at the budget meeting. But I bring that up because in the zoning code audit in 2018, the audit also took a look at some of the general plan's content and processes, and it told us that the plan's vision is lost in the amount of material and that it contains an extraordinary large amount of implementation actions, and the plans end up with very long lists of actions and projects that become a wish list of sorts rather than a well thought out guide for moving the county forward. Even with that finding, the number of implementing actions in our plans have continued to grow since the audit was, finalized in 2018. The actions have increased by 51 additional actions. And now the South Maui Community Plan is poised to come to you, and that's going to increase the number of actions by 81 from the current adopted plan. So this list keeps getting larger. Next slide, please. Here you can see the 15 county departments who contributed to this report by providing updates to their assigned Maui Island Plan and Community Plan actions. This number here at the bottom, which is 1,179 actions, it doesn't include 82 actions that are also in the countywide policy plan. We didn't incorporate them here because the countywide policy plan is more broad in scale, and there's not really any one department that implements that. It's kind of everybody does their best to implement the countywide policy plan. However, of these 1,179 actions, the planning department is assigned the most at 323, but the majority of all actions, which is 856 of them, are assigned to other county departments, with the exception of 103 that are under the purview of federal, state, or other entities. Next slide, please. So status reporting. I'm fortunate to have some really good staff working for me, and they came up with this incredible acronym COIN for complete, ongoing, in progress, and not begun. And you'll notice within the exhibits section of the report that it's color-coded. So rather than having a bunch of X's up and down the spreadsheets, you can kind of read it a little easier to see what the status of that project is. Also to note, the ongoing actions are considered successfully implemented, as these are activities that are intended to continue indefinitely, at least for the foreseeable future. The example I like to give is, provide good surface paved roads. And so that requires ongoing maintenance. That would be like an ongoing action. Okay, next slide, please. Countywide policy plan. So this slide identifies the 12 countywide policy plan key themes and the status of its 82 implementing actions. And as I stated, these aren't assigned to any one department. It's just, everyone's kuleana to do their best to implement them. Next slide, please. For the Maui Island Plan, there are 305 actions assigned to 13 county departments, along with federal, state, and other agencies. The planning department is responsible for 100 of the actions, and 205 go to other departments. For the community plans, the 3 island plans, along with Maui Island's 6 community plans, contain 874 actions that are assigned to the departments or entities listed here. I think there's 15 different agencies on there. Planning is assigned 223 of the actions, and 651 go to other departments. I've already gone over the exhibit section a little bit, but to kind of just state it again, in the exhibit section at the end of the report includes the countywide policy plan actions, the Maui Island Plan actions, all the community plan actions by department, and then all of the community plan actions sorted by the community plan area. Next slide, please. And lastly, this is just based, in closing, based on county department reporting, 78% of all implementing actions across all the general plan documents have been completed or initiated to some extent, meaning they are either complete, ongoing, or currently in progress. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you, and be happy to try and answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Forsyth. Love that color coding, the red, yellow, green. It's like intuitive, and then the blue is very calming. At this time, we can open up for public testimony. Staff, is there anyone waiting to testify?
Yes, Chair, the first individual to testify is the Royal House of Hawaii.
Go ahead, Mr. House.
Aloha, this is the Royal House of Hawaii, an allodial land holder, of the royal patents, who are the original title holders of the land. And are any of the lands that are going to be used or anything like that, will the descendants be contacted? Because they haven't been contacted and they are concerned because everyone's TMKs are being changed, oddly. And it's supposed to be showing the royal patent inside them and the Land Commission Award. So gotta fix that like ASAP kind. And fix it to show the royal patent, Land Commission Award, because Hawaii Revised Statute 172-11, the land is supposed to return back to the descendants no matter. Because it assigns forever, and it's an allodial title royal patent. And none of them are judges, nobody's a judge over here, and our paperwork has already been adjudicated from the Mahele. So, from the Mahele, from the king that used to live over there. But no, anyway, please call in all the descendants of all the royal patents, royal patented lands that you guys are going to be using, and because all of Hawaii is all allodial title royal patented, so return the lands. Mahalo.
Thank you, members. Any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Chair, the last individual signed up is Johan Law.
Johan Lal, I am testifying on my own behalf. I worked for the Long Range Division for 3 years, and that was the first and I guess only time I worked with community plans. And when I started, I was really just confused because there's all these layers of regulation. There's like state land use, and there's zoning, and there's community plans. So I understand why a lot of people, especially like out in the public, are like completely confused by all these different layers and how they fit together. One thing that several council members have asked over the years is whether the community plans are regulatory or I can't remember the other word, like advisory maybe.
Aspirational? Was it aspirational?
Yeah, yeah, that's it. One way I would suggest discussing and I guess thinking about the community plans is how they get applied and how they get used. And I see them as kind of a set of tools that the regulators have, including the planning department and the planning commission. And so one example that I think will make sense is the South Maui community plan, or the draft community plan, has language about protecting access, and it's not very specific. It just says, protect access, or like preserve access, create access. And so the way that something like that gets implemented is when a development is coming in for an SMA permit or like shoreline permits, you would have conditions on it, and you would say, okay, this hotel wants to get built, but one of the conditions is we're going to have them do 10 parking spaces for the public, and they're going to have an access route, and they're going to have access for people to do like their cultural practices and stuff like that. And that's just an example of how you would actually apply the community plans in a way that actually benefits the community. And so that's completely different from zoning, which has these like strict requirements. The community plans are kind of subjective, and it's up to the regulators to apply them. And one thing I've brought up over the years in many different ways is that the staff report is supposed to guide the planning commission, because they don't really know, like they're not experts, right? The problem is that what I think is still going on, and I first learned about in 2022, is that developers are writing the staff reports reviewing their own projects. So that basically skips over an important step where the people like, the staff planners are looking at these applications and they're saying, okay, how do they comply with the community plans? How can we get conditions in place that make sure that what the public wants, like the access or the open space or protecting drainage, protecting ocean quality, is all protected. So I hope you guys address that kind of thing, how they actually get applied in the real world. Thank you.
Thank you, members. Any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Chair, the next individual is Mr. Law, approaching the podium.
J.C. Law, no relation to Johan Law. I don't think so. Maybe. My dad was in the Navy, though. I really, I wasn't going to say nothing for the second part. I'll make it quick, and because I know you guys want to talk about the plans. And I'm glad the Royal House person keeps on reminding of that, so I'd like that to be in the plans, and I'll try to attend the community plans. And I heard there's going to be an upcountry plan pretty soon, and I've been waiting 12 years for that, so I'm really going to be active in that one. So you guys know I've been here, and you guys are probably wondering, like, what do I do for a living and stuff? As you know, I want to do recycling, so I'm sure that's in the plan somewhere. But I wanted to call your attention to the State of Hawaii business application. And it's got to do with this whole thing with the Royal House, Kanaka keeps on saying, is my plan is to get a tax ID number, and the only way I can get it, I wish there was a Kingdom of Hawaii tax ID number, but all they got is the State of Hawaii one, and they're working with the United States. But every time I go over there and ask for a Olelo Hawaiian version, they say they don't have it, which confuses me. But I'm going to work with them because it says what I like in an interpreter, and I'm going to ask for an interpreter, but they're going to be confused because I can understand the English application, and I'm going to ask them to help me out with the translating it into Hawaiian myself. So yeah, I'm trying to get a job, you guys, like I said before, and if anybody knows a good insurance agent, let me know. I don't know how that was relevant, but I just figured I would say something. And I like what Alice Lee's been saying about these plans. Let's do something.
Members, any questions for the testifier? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Any additional testifiers?
No, Chair. We can do a last call for oral testimony. Please come up to the podium or raise your hand on Teams if you would like to testify. The count is 3, 2, 1. Seeing none, Chair, no one has indicated that they wish to testify.
Members, any objections with closing public testimony and accepting written testimony into the record? We can open up with first round 3 minutes. I will start with Committee Vice Chair U Hodgins and then start at this end and go that way.
Thank you. I feel like we have so many things I guess I could ask you about. I do appreciate you guys being here with us all day, Ms. Director Takakura, and nice to see you, Mr. Forsyth. As I was reviewing at least the Paia Haiku implementing actions, there's one I think we can actually change, which is the human concerns one, which I know it's not you folks necessarily, but we are actually getting some start on the Haiku fire station, so that's nice. We can change that from not begun to, I guess, in progress. But I do understand why certain things may take a little bit longer. On the Makawao one, I guess Pukalani Kula, there's one in there about interim lands. Let me see if I can find it. How would you plan on rezoning the properties that are zoned interim? And how would you, I mean, you're like gonna contact the landowner and talk about like what's the best option for the property, or what would you do in that scenario?
Chair, if I may. So thank you for the question. That's a very good question. So regarding rezoning, what we would first want to do is update the community plan. I don't know what the community plan designations are for those parcels, but they really should be consistent first. So the first step would be ideally updating the community plan designations. And like I had mentioned, Upcountry's next, so that would be the ideal time. And then working with the property owners to designate it to, you know, what would be appropriate, and hopefully, you know, like if it's residential, then make it residential. I'm not sure. You know, the thing about interim is that you've got a lot of different opportunities in interim. So we would really have to look at what are they doing, because interim kind of allows a lot of different things. So we want to make sure we're not taking away any uses that they've been doing. So we'd have to work closely with the property owners on this.
Right. No, yeah, interim does allow for a little bit of flexibility. And what happens if they say no, thank you?
Then I go to the corporation council and say, please help.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Let's see. I had another question. Oh, yeah. I guess this is a public works issue, but it is in your folks' plan. So how would we revise the building, subdivision, and roadway standards appropriate for rural areas to maintain its character and reduce the cost of development? So I know Member Sinensi kind of asked that question earlier. How do we help build homes in Hana, someplace that's so rural, and, you know, make it somewhat affordable? So taking into his question earlier today and this implementing action, what could we do to assist in that?
So thank you for that question. Also, I think a lot of that would turn back to the planning, which is partly the Metropolitan Planning Organization, and then also working with Public Works. But, you know, Scott can probably talk, because, you know, one thing I had in the presentation this morning is that he's kind of part of the alphabet soup of MPO TAC and TOD and HCDA, you know, so he's part of the Metropolitan Planning Organization, and then the Transit-Oriented Development, and which is not really for HANA, but you know, transportation is so linked to land use planning, but you can, because you work with those groups quite a bit.
So I think to, you know, upgrade the roads, you know, to a different standard, you definitely would want to, I don't want to be the expert on that. You definitely need to consult with Public Works and see what they see fit. From the MPO perspective, you know, there's classifications for, you know, roadway systems and things like that. However, for construction-related requirements that may need to beef up the infrastructure, that may be more of an engineering question.
Sure. I heard the bell. Thank you.
Member Batangan?
Thank you, Chair. And I appreciate you starting on this end so I can ask my questions, because I gotta run pretty soon. Thank you, administration, for being here with us today. First question has to do with the countywide policy plan. What are the good governance action items that we haven't not yet started? And is there any actions are there any requests of the council? Is there anything we can help with?
Thank you, Council Member. I think that's a good question. And yes, you can help with all of these. So just jumping right into it, for good governance, you know, once again, the countywide policy plan actions, you know, they apply to everyone in a broad sense. And so in specific to the good governance items, which are on page.
And if your report isn't organized, you know, in a way that would allow you to very easily answer the question, I can just ask to put it in writing and you guys can circle back too.
So we can definitely respond to anything in writing.
Okay. Staff?
However, the report is organized. So in Exhibit 2, the countywide policy plans are organized by the key theme. And I just flipped through it for the good governance on page.
There's a few that are not.
Yeah. Exhibit 1, page 6. So there are a few that have not been implemented. I'm counting about 5 on this page alone. And, there's a cross section of concept. I refer to these as concepts and not projects. I don't like referring to these as projects because projects really are more refined items that can be developed either as something, a capital project, or something that may be a program. Right now, these are concepts that can be refined. But study and evaluate the feasibility and implications of district voting in Maui County Council elections. So this may be something maybe that County Clerk's Office or the Charter Commission may need to, address more of. But if you have anything specific, we can definitely look into it and get back to you.
Cool. I guess, yeah, so staff, can you put in writing for the department, what are the good governance, concepts, I think is what you call them, under the countywide policy plan that have not yet been started? And is there an opportunity for this council to take action to help get those started?
I'll look into it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. We have it noted.
Oh, thank you, Chair. I think that'll be it for me.
Thank you. Member Sugimura, your opportunity.
Yeah. The testifier who questioned is the Maui Island Plan or the policy plans. Is it, I don't know what the word is, law, or is it just aspiration? And the reason why I think that question is good is because in public testimony or even here, certain community people will say, oh, you can't share the water with whatever to another district. And I found that very alarming because all of us know that, or wonder what we need to do to correct it if they think that because it's in the community plan, you can't share water. Like if Wailuku said they're not going to share water at all, they're going to keep all their water, South Maui would die. So when that was brought up in testimony here, I said, oh my God, that person doesn't understand what they're saying. So in that case, I think they were community advocates who were putting it in the community plan saying that Haiku will no longer share their water, right? Upcountry will no longer share their water. And I said, wait, that's not law, number one. And if Wailuku said that to all of us, or Wailuku said that, that would be astronomical to communities. So do you have any statement, or is that a Corp Council statement, or Director Takakura?
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Sugimura, if I may, Chair Paulton. So regarding the permit reviews, so the testifier worked in GIS for a little while, has never worked in permitting or in the Special Management Area Administration or in the current division which handles the discretionary permits. So when discretionary permits come to the department, they are all submitted through MAPS now, and they get routed to the Long Range Division for the general plan consistency review. And that's why when Councilmember Uhajan says the Haiku Fire Station, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that one because we did the review for general plan consistency. So we are doing that, and we are saying, there are some things that may need to be modified in the project to become consistent, or if it's blatantly inconsistent, then we are going to mention that. And that's done by the Long Range Division staff. I don't know any current division planners who are having applicants write reports to the commissioners. That simply does not happen. They provide the information in MAPS, and we use that information to create the report. And that's what our staff do. And now as acting director, I'm reading these. I mean, I read them anyway, just because it's interesting, and it's good to pay attention, right? But I'm reading those, and if it looks like it's going to be written by an applicant, I'm not going to accept that. And like I mentioned, we don't do that. So that's just wrong information. So I'm sorry that it has to come up, but Long Range Division reviews discretionary permits for general plan consistency. We do that. It's routed to us in MAPS. We work with the current division planner. I'm sorry, but this really needs to be cleared up because this is how we do it. with the CIP and with the budget, it can be a little bit more aspirational because, you know, the departments know exactly what they need. They know that they need to fix certain water lines, like, you know, by Mrs. Ferrera's house at Maui Electric and on Wakea and coming, you know, we're not going to put that in the community plan, but water department might have it in their CIP, right? So it is a little bit aspirational. These are the projects that we want to see for the community, but there's going to be other things that are not necessarily consistent. But so there are different uses for the general plans, where they're, you know, regulatory and aspirational. And so in terms of that, it's used both ways. And in terms of things that are in community plans that, like, say, we're not going to share the water unless our needs are met first, you know, maybe back when that plan was written, there wasn't the need for that, but now things are different. This island is one community, and we need to think about it like that. And, you know, if it's going to be where water does not get shared, then maybe we need to change what we think about these communities. Maybe all the development needs to be where the water is. I don't know. That's going to be a policy decision, but, you know, we really need to rethink on how we think about ourselves as a community, because we are an island community. And I'm probably going beyond because you know, policy is kind of beyond me, but these are important questions that come up that we need to think about here in 2026. Thank you.
Councilor Chair Lee?
Yes, you mentioned going beyond, you know, your scope or out of your lane. You mentioned Mrs. Ferrera in Kahului.
You know.
Are you from Kahului?
Yes.
Oh, okay. She had the greenest lawn in the whole world. Yeah, it's a
With all the
mess.
decorations in the windows, yeah.
Right.
But that was, you know, there's.
Yeah, the corner. Okay, I'm just checking because, yeah, I agree. I don't think you should add her to the community plan. Yeah, thank you. That's all I have.
That's all? Okay. Member Arlene Fernandez.
Oh, that's funny. Mahalo, Chair, and mahalo for this presentation. I appreciate you, Chair, bringing this up. I think it's been a little while. I think since you were the planning chair that we had a presentation on this. So, mahalo. Acting Director Takakura, I mean, you know, before that is where communities were built, where the water was, and not removing it from an ahupua'a to another one. And Molokai is very sensitive to that because it doesn't recharge the aquifer. It doesn't take into consideration the connection of the hydrological cycle. Community plans are law. We adopt a bill that we do in 2 readings, and then the plan becomes the law and all its recommendations and action items. I agree with our testifier that we should take action, and all these plans have all the action items that we should be taking. So my question for our resource folks, I like this format. What hasn't changed is the in progress. And when we had PSLU committee, I asked implementation division if they would put like a percentage of like what's in progress. Like, is it in progress like 10%? Is it in progress like 90%? Almost POW, you know, like I think that makes a difference. Well, I would like to see it. I'm sure the public would like to see it too. Would that be possible?
Go ahead, Mr. Forsyth.
Thank you, Councilmember. That's a difficult question to answer. The reason being is that the community plan actions are not like the capital improvement program in which progress is being tracked in various programs. Each project manager on any individual project may be keeping track of this on their own, at their own desk all throughout the county. The difficulty lies in when we go out to all the departments and request every year, what is the status of your responsible actions. And it comes back to us, staff changeover, turnovers, directors and deputies change. And so that information seems to always fluctuate. And also, an action on a plan that's 20 years old, according to these reports, which we've been keeping track of since around 2016 or so, there's been so many hands that go through it that we don't exactly know what the current status may be. So something could have started 15 years ago, and it's showing as being in progress because it still is in progress. Being complete is another thing, you know, we may be able to show that, hey, it's complete, but to really track things percentage-wise, it really would vary on each action one by one, because some of the actions could potentially be projects per se. When I read through many of the actions, they seem more like concepts to me. They could be, these are possible programs to explore. These are items that may be departments such as Public Works, not to point them out specifically, but they may say, hey, this is a great idea, but it's infeasible to do. And so it's just very difficult to really put your finger on a specific percentage and count that over time. So this right now is the best we can do. I think ultimately the best way to do this would be to have performance measure tracking so we can identify countywide exactly by what metrics are we meeting certain parameters, such as just saying sidewalks, for instance. How many feet or lanes of sidewalks or miles of sidewalks have been constructed across the county? Those are actual measurable things that you can track. The community plan, the Maui Island plan, the countywide policy plan actions aren't as easy to do. That makes sense.
Yes, it does, and I support that. And I did hear the timer, but I just wanted to, if you don't mind, Chair. So I'll use the example I used earlier with the relocation of the Puko'o Fire Station. As you stated, there's like a lot of projects within that, to accomplish that, we bought new land, we had to do the studies, we have to construct it. There's a lot of steps. And I would say we're like about 75% of the way. So I hear your idea or better direction. Next round, I'd like to ask you what it would take to do that. Mahalo, Chair.
Sure thing. Member Cook, your opportunity.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Department, all of you, both of you. My question is, first, you had a really hard task to manage, and one of the things I'm going to point out is of the 856 assigned, action items, 856 are to other departments. Who in those departments are measuring the implementation and giving you the information to update it? It just seems, for me as a contractor and orchestrating projects and being able to assign action items and measure things on a Gantt chart, et cetera, it just seems like structurally, there's no real nexus to it. There again, we're getting aspirational. I'll just put it flat out there. I think the planning process with the community plans, island plan and community plans is somewhat broken because what's intended and what's desired isn't really manifested the way it is because it is so abstract in some ways. I remember when I was on the GPAC, there was 25 of us, and that was huge. But one of the things we had all of the different department heads come, fire, police, public works, environmental management, Department of Water Supply. And it was like, okay, tell us what you're going to do in the next 20 years. What do you need so we can budget it? Where are you going to put it? And literally, people would roll their eyes and go like, well, I'd kind of like a fire station every so many often, and we like that, but it's like, we don't have the money. It's not going to happen. So why are we contemplating it. It's like they recognized that they couldn't project and commit that kind of money for their department. So I'd really like to work, hopefully legislatively, we can all work together to identify what works, refine it, so that we can have a very meaningful, substantial thing. My witnessing all the different community plans and stuff, very strong individuals will get involved and will steer the boat. I've seen the planning department try and, we're mediating it, we're running the show, and people literally say, you don't know my community, and then they just run with the ball. And then we end up voting on it and it becomes law. So I'd like to be some way of the solution. And I'm not arguing or debating or pushing away from people who have different views than I do, but I just see what you're trying to accomplish when we're saying measure these things is not really practical or feasible, and we're putting you in an awkward situation. Do you have a comment?
Thank you for that comment. I'm not sure if there was a question there, but
I was basically spelling out what my perspective is, and then the question is asking, and you don't need to agree with me, I don't need to be right. And my question is kind of, what would be the solution to make it work better for you? Do you have any feedback on that?
And I agree that'd be a good conversation to have. 2.80B of Maui County Code is very, very prescriptive in the process and what is required in the development of the general plan documents. And so the actions that do evolve into the general plan documents really are they are developed because of the way that process is set up. And that's my opinion. Yeah.
Thank you.
And if you remember, we did do an on-the-floor passing of first reading of some of the changing of that prescriptive process in coordination with the planning department, because it's so detailed, I guess. And it didn't allow for advances in technology, like the digital zoning maps and things like that. It said in 2.80B something that the maps have to be provided in paper and all of these things. So the things that we changed in that bill were the most low-hanging fruits, the easiest to change. I think Ms. Takakura has a laundry list of other things that get a little bit more complicated that will have to wait till definitely after budget. But that's just to illustrate Mr. Forsyth's point on how prescriptive if you look it up in 2.80B, there's so many little detailed things that have to be hit, which is a small part of the reason why we sent it back, because not because they didn't do all of them, but if they could pull them out so that we can yep, they did that, yep, they did that, yep, they did that. So just to add on to what he said.
Thank you, Chair.
Member Hodgins, for your opportunity.
I don't have any other questions, Chair. Thank you.
Member Sinensi.
Thank you, Chair, and mahalo for this report. I know, and all the color codes, because I think we just had our notes on our original one. So thank you for this. I know Hana is the last one, so we got plenty time to move some of these red to yellow and blue and eventually green. So I think I visited the junior class at Hana School, and they wanted to see this. So I'll definitely share this copy with this. But with the intent, if they want to make some changes, as you were speaking, can they do that through the community plan amendment process? Or we would have to wait till we get to the Hana Community Plan?
Thank you, Councilmember Sines. Do you mean make changes to the Hana Community Plan?
Yeah.
Oh, they can make changes. They might want to do it now because HANA is kind of later on in the list. We have this resolution that we follow, 13-13, it has the order, so we can't skip, we have to wait till we get to HANA. So they can certainly talk to you, and then you can talk to us, and then we can figure something out to make some updates, yes?
Okay, great. Yeah, because they were the ones that were most interested in how their town, and I think they have a lot to say about how their town should be. Mr. Forsyth, did you want to share?
So, no, thank you for the comment.
And it looks like, some of these, we could, by just quickly glancing over this, we could move some of this to the yellow column, from red to yellow. I think we've done some work on some of them too.
And that's, thank you, Councilmember. That's what I was going to respond to, is that if you have any specific actions that you have noticed that may be incorrectly marked, please just email me directly and we can take care of it. For next year's report, we'll just make a note and adjust it that way. It's very difficult when there's 1,200 actions for, a small division of 3 to be on top of each general plan action. And so it really helps to get feedback from others as well. So I'd appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Oh shoot, I forgot what my main question was. I was waiting so long. I do have a side question. Is there any spreadsheet of land use backups? It seems the quality and maintenance of the GIS depends on the analyst. Is there a backup spreadsheet of land uses?
I'm not, thank you for the question, Chair. I'm not sure if I'm following the question. Is there a backup spreadsheet of land uses?
Yeah, so when we were, I don't want to say the words, but when we were talking about the phase out and we were trying to see, remember what happened in the West Maui Community Plan Advisory Committee, there were a couple of parcels in the community plan that were changed to hotel. And it was difficult to see them on the paper maps, and it was kind of difficult to see them on the digital as well. Is there a spreadsheet of land uses and the coordinating, I guess, TMKs or LCAs, RPs and stuff?
So yes, we can, consult with our GIS folks, and they have all this within a database, and so I'm sure it can be, so we can acquire it, yeah.
Okay, cool. Community plans. Oh, for the island plans, I think we had made a change after Molokai, where instead of having a Molokai CPAC and then going to the Molokai Planning Commission and then coming to the council, or the Lanai CPLAC and then the Lanai Planning Commission and then coming to the council to expedite the community planning process, that the Planning Commission would serve as the CPAC and the Planning Commission. Would HANA Advisory Committee be able to do that? Instead of us choosing a HANA CPAC, would the HANA Advisory Committee get to serve as the HANA CPAC?
Thank you, Chair Paulton. Those are great questions. With the existing 280B, no, but there's time we could change that and have that. That's a wonderful idea. And one thing we have been discussing internally is Molokai and Lanai being island plans, so that, like you mentioned, it could be eliminating some of the redundancies. But yeah, that would make sense for HANA too.
And then I was thinking, as Mr. Forsyth mentioned, he's a three worker show, and him. like how we're going over this plan implementation division for Molokai, Lanai, and Hana, if they want to work with their either advisory committee or planning commissions to, instead of having those three guys going to all of that, like maybe they start with the annual review with either the Lanai Planning Commission, Molokai Planning Commission, or Hana Advisory, because they would have a lot more of, like, I certainly am not ma'a to what's going on Molokai, Hana, or Lanai in the same way that I believe that those folks would be, and it might be just an opportunity for you folks to work smarter, not harder.
Thank you for that, Chair. That would be definitely, I think, a great help for us in updating the status reports by consulting with them. So.
Oh, cool. Glad I could be of assistance. Anybody for a second round? Oh, Member Rollins Fernandez.
Mahalo, Chair. Mahalo, Mr. Forsyth. So just that follow-up question and one additional question. What would it take for your division to implement the performance matrix?
I have an easy answer. It would take a lot. Meaning that I don't think that we have a really good, accurate assessment of all the available data that is being tracked countywide and being tracked on a continuous basis. And that's information that we would need in order to start establishing reporting on performance measures rather than, tracking in progress, ongoing, complete per se. And so it would be quite a hefty undertaking to do, and it would also take coordination with all the various county departments who have access to this data, as well as state departments as well. We put some thought into it. It's just, it would be an ongoing endeavor once we start, and it would take a lot of staff work. And so that's just kind of the concern right now, is we just don't have all those people in place to do that.
Mahalo. So our community plan on Molokai was adopted in 2018, and I've been using that plan to guide the priorities of my office. So I have that information. If I gave you that information, would you incorporate that into your annual report?
I think we could take a look at it and have a conversation about it and see how useful it would be to incorporate into the report, certainly.
Okay. And then my last question is regarding a dashboard. So with the Climate Action Resiliency Plan, they've done a dashboard, and with the Housing Department, they're doing a dashboard. And I think this is really important information so that the public has access to this information, as well as the council members, to just be updated on where we're at. What would it take for your division to have a dashboard?
Thank you for the question. And that's something that we've been talking about. Before this year's reporting, we were exploring the possibility of developing a dashboard for it. And the reason why we did it this time around is that we really need to have staff that's going to continuously be there. Once again, it's an ongoing effort. And it's something that this information, the way that we color coded it, the way that we try to enhance the layout of it is, I don't want to say the best that we can do, but it's probably the best that we can do at this point in time without, it's something that we're exploring. I just don't know how huge of an effort it would be for us to actually implement it at this point.
Okay, I heard the timer, Chair. How long are you going to be exploring, and how seriously are you exploring?
So last year we did reach out to a few firms across, software firms, enterprise software firms across the U.S., and we were working with Invisio to get their platform in order to develop a dashboard type of product. so we can post it on the web. And, you know, the initial cost for it, we're looking around, I think, around $500,000 or so. But it was going to be a continuous cost as well for, you know, memberships, or not memberships, but a subscription to use their software. You know, the cost aside, it would be also the staff expertise, and not just the planning department. We would need to get the buy-in from other departments to really do their part to help keep that information updated. So it would really be a countywide effort to do something like that.
Mahalo for that response, because it takes like $500,000 to develop each plan that some council members just put on the shelf. So I would like for us to not just waste money when we develop plans and actually use them. Mahalo. Mahalo, Chair.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions, we may be flirting with quorum loss. So if there's no objection, the chair will defer this item. This concludes today's Disaster Recovery International Affairs and Planning Committee meeting. Thank you very much, everyone. The time is now 4:29 and like 30 seconds. So I'm giving you an extra 30 seconds to your day. This meeting is adjourned.